Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, TAMI Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey. Hello, friends. Hello. And welcome to this show, this episode about March and 333 and moving forward and saying hello to new energy. I want to thank you all for joining me here. If you're new, settle in. We're going to play a little, do a little child's play with the Pleiadians. If you're a returning friend, then welcome back. I welcome you to this space and this place. So let's settle in. Let's get all cozy and in sacred space so that we can talk about this magical month of March and all the goodness that's coming up in a different way. All right, so I'm wrapping us all in love light and light love, inviting in the guides who overlight this show, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, bringing in the Pleiadians to come play with us. And I want to make this more of a, I don't even know what to call it, like ragdoll, like Pleiadians and guides and source, like take me and show me what you want me to talk about versus me just sitting in front of the camera and holding up cards and all that. So this month of March, and in that, so in me doing that, that's going to be bringing in the themes for you of the month. So we always say, when we do these episodes, especially these ones where it's just auditory rather than a visual on the screen or on the podcast. Oh, you can't have a visual on a podcast. Hello. That you use like your master ears and you tune in and you tap into your own intuition, your own inner guidance, that you invite in your own guides to help you interpret messages. It could be things you might be hearing. Everything in this show and really in all the shows on this channel are activations. Much of it comes through either the 3D words that are being said, but also in the light language, inflections, tones, and potentially light language itself coming through my voice, coming from my heart through my throat and out onto the airwaves. Now, I sat for several days thinking about this episode, which we're trying to be more in the now moment. So a big theme that we're going to be focused on here on the channel for March and moving forward is self-mastery. And in a sense, we have been talking about that, but we're taking it up another notch, taking it to the next level. I have been, quote unquote, upgraded, so to speak, and will be receiving new kind of levels of guidance and wisdom to share with you that I haven't previously had access to before. So that means that the Inner Mysteries teachings will get a little richer and juicier and maybe bring you some insight and guidance, that you need most in this now. We are going to be doing some shows in the month on, I think this month we're going to focus a little bit on divine neutrality. It is your shielding superpower, so to speak. And so I want to give ample time to talking about that a little bit more. But for this first day of March, which is when I'm recording this, this is timeless. You can listen to this as an activation whenever you want. But for this first day of March, I just feel like we need to bring in some fun, some levity to balance out maybe all of the seriousness that's going on in the 3D world. Not that I don't acknowledge that it's there, but some of us, bringers of the light, are meant to be placeholders, and so, or more like space placeholder. Placeholder is like a napkin thing or whatever. Like a space holder. So we're meant to hold the space in peace and calm and clarity. And so that is why you will find that this show doesn't typically focus on what's going on in the outside world. While we, the guides, and myself here acknowledge those things are occurring, we don't spend a lot of our time focused on them. And definitely we're not bringing those aspects into this show, because this show is meant to have a different type of an outcome, of an intention. It's meant to raise your vibration and to activate you into potential action, to do something different, to bring you more into your power, lift you up, and get you moving on soul mission, and get you feeling strong about who you are as a soul on this planet Earth. So I want to start out with a couple of things, and then we'll let the Pleiadians. I also have Freddie Mercury came in this morning, and actually hung over. Who's been hanging around for a couple of days, and we'll see if he wants to come in too and share any high vibiness with us for this magical month of March. The 3-3 gateways is upon us, which takes us from the 3-3, which is an activation portal, all the way to the March, the equinox that's coming up later this month. So you'll be in a very powerful window of astrological and energetic activity that is coming through to continue to raise you up and help you shed old paradigms within and without, and help you reach your own personal level of self-mastery on your journey. But this morning I pulled a card from a deck, and obviously you can't see it, but it's like a jar filled with fireflies who have got all this light inside, coming out, obviously, but the little fireflies are angels, and the card is called Magic. And I thought I would just read from the card, because you know me, I'm all about life is meant to be enjoyed, the simple pleasures of life, and definitely the magic of life in even the simplest, smallest things. Definitely this channel is a little bit more about slowing down and are you enjoying your life? Even if it's not perfectly the way you want it to be exactly right now, can you find some joy? So this card is called Light the Night. It's magic, comes in clever packages, especially when we least expect it. It shows up in untimely and unplanned ways, always lightly touching the thing that holds us in. With magic is light. Light slipping into closed places. Light bending around fixed structures. Light emerging from dusty trunks with memories and laughter and love. A summer's night can bring light too, but maybe not in the way that is expected, but brought out by tiny flickering sparks ready for the tango. Has your light been trapped too long? It's time to take the lid off and allow your radiance to fill up the velvet night. So when I tapped into the energies of March, I got compassion and confirmation. And we'll probably do another whole episode on that alone. I'll probably do a video on that. But because it has a lot of different meanings for the month. And this seems to be a long month, like when I look at the calendar. But I did also, along with that magic, I want to kind of focus on the magical March. I thought it was kind of fun. The other day on Instagram, I posted an art drawing that I did. It's for a card deck that I'm working on, for an oracle deck that I'm working on. But the message, sometimes I haven't been on Instagram as much as I used to in the past, but I used to post every day like a daily message, but now it's just kind of whenever I just feel like it. But the illustration that I did, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the little art drawing I did was a girl holding a planchette from the Ouija board. And the planchette had the word magic on it, kind of in lowercase. And there then in uppercase magic, kind of up in the quote unquote, I guess like higher realms. Because there's like a beam of light in the corner of the drawing coming down into the planchette and all around the girl and out of her third eye into the planchette. And she had I am presence kind of over her, was kind of illustrated over her head. And the message, so the title of the card was Planchette. And the message, these are all channeled when I do these on Instagram, but it said, with a strong focus, Melanie created her desire. The planchette, only a tool. She was co-creating from a higher power. Today, you take back your power as you realize that nothing outside yourself is as powerful as the I am that is you. There is nothing to prove and nowhere to look, as you must shift your focus and look within. No more self-sabotage. It's time to manifest your greatness, and the magic is all around you. So don't wait or procrastinate. The time is now. And so that was interesting. I don't know when I posted that. Oh, it says 4 days ago. 4 days ago I posted that. I drew that. And then yesterday I was like, okay, I'm ready to flip over my calendar now. It's a calendar. Let's see. They were going to take me to go look at it because I don't remember the name of it. Who's this calendar by? Llewellyn's Magical Mystical Cats, Witches and Wizards from the Land of Whiskers and Paws by Lisa Parker. Okay, there we go. So I had it on February, and I don't ever look ahead because I don't want to know what the pictures are going to be. So yesterday I was like, oh, okay, I'm ready for March. And so I flipped the calendar, and on March is this beautiful, like powerful looking, you have to go look at this. Maybe I'll put it in the thumbnail. This powerful looking black cat. And he's got his foot on a planchette from the Ouija board. And the Ouija board says on one corner, hello, and on the other corner, goodbye. And the planchette is right in the middle with his or whatever paw is on it, and just kind of looking at us like, where is this going? So it's like a month of like out with the old and in with the new, and the 2-2-2-2-2 gateway or whatever, I'm telling you guys, was huge. I'm sure you all felt it in one way or another in your own life, as well as outwardly in the world. A lot of interesting things happened. For those of you that have been on, this crazy spiritual journey, like you may have felt like that was when the like goodbye came and the hello, and then there was like these few days of almost like a little void space, and like the hello is kind of now like, hello, we're ready to start new, almost like not even like a new month or a new month of this year, but like a whole new paradigm, a whole new turning of the wheel that is very broad and takes you further out into the cosmos. What does that even mean? So with that being said, that's a lot of juicy goodness right there. I do want to just see where the Pleiadians, what you guys want me to focus on, who's coming in, or what we want to play with in regards to this month, in regards to the magic or the 333 activation. Let's see. I know Freddie Mercury is here because he just keeps singing that song. Like, oh, it's Killer Queen. Killer Queen. Let me see. I've been hearing that for days. Let's just see if there's anything in the lyrics of Killer Queen. I guess I'm not supposed to, what is that? I don't know the rules of these silly platforms about singing songs and all that. Let me just look at the lyrics. She keeps her Moet and Chandon in her pretty cabinet. Let them eat cake, she says, like Marie Antoinette. Caviar. Why is this? It's more like I told my it's more so not like the lyrics, although I guess you could get in there and pull out a lot of metaphors. It's more that song. It's something about the tone and the. I don't know a lot about music. What is iambic pentameter? I don't even know what that is. I mean, I know what it is, but I don't know what it is. They're leading us on like a bunny trail here, so you guys have to bear with me. Iambic pentameter is a type of metric line used in traditional English poetry and verse drama. The rhythm, it's the rhythm or meter established by the words in that line. Yeah, it's something about the iambic pentameter and the tone of the voice of that song that does something in terms of an activation. So, like, you may want to just listen to that song. So the Pleiadians are here, but it just seems very quiet and peaceful. And they want me to talk about divine neutrality now. So I guess we're not saving that. So this has come up. I've heard it really from very few wayshowers talk about it. Or if they do, maybe they use different words to talk about it. But I was listening a lot to Sandra Walter talk about it. She's an ascension guide and a wayshower, and good keeper and gatekeeper and all of that. But I've heard her talk about it before in the past, and I never really paid attention to it. So it's an experiment that I've been doing, because in some of the YouTube stuff I've listened to where she talks about it, it's really a higher vibration of like non-judgment. It's like taking it up a level, so to speak. And so I've been practicing with it. And in one of the videos that she talks about, she says that it has to do, it's kind of like the ultimate shield. That if you develop this kind of attitude of divine neutrality, this setting the intention, I guess, to be neutral, then you don't really attach to anything. So it's a higher level of like not seeing anything as good or bad. So it's removing the polarity from pretty much your everyday life, where you look at the outside world, either maybe like another's actions or even things that are happening for you, as, you know, good or bad, right or wrong. And there's a very fine line that you kind of draw with it, because it's not that you're not for anything being good or bad. I mean, obviously you would have to make choices, right? And certain things like this choice of this thing might be better for me than this choice. But in that case, you're looking at the highest outcome or the highest good for all involved. But this divine neutrality is more, I'll just give you some examples, and then I'll share with you how it's been working, because you'll have to kind of decide, number one, if you want to play with this, because this is a self-mastery topic. This is, I guess, of an advanced level ascension way of being, kind of new earth nowness, new earth nowness. So I'll have to give examples, like typically they happen with my dog. But so like in the mornings, I go to the park, and I go pretty early to take my dog like on a long walk. It's a very big park, I don't know, we walk the whole thing. So we spend about an hour like walking the whole thing in the mornings, and we are by the river and we're doing all this stuff. And usually I'm there like at sunrise. So I'm typically there by myself, or there's usually like one other person that comes every day around that time. And I like that solitude. I don't like a lot of interruption at that point in the day, because that's just, like that's my quiet time. That's my time out in nature. I don't want to be bothered with stuff. So, but the dog is like very territorial and very kind of triggers very easily. She's very, very sensitive to energy. I notice like if I pick up on an energy that's maybe, a quarter of a mile away. Like I can see somebody like way over there, like, oh, there's somebody way over there. As soon as I pick up on it, or at the same time, the dog picks up on it. And it could just be a person like doing their own thing, like further off way off in the distance, right? We both pick up on it. Well, at that point, what had been happening to me was I would be like, oh crap, here comes somebody. I'm going to have to like fight, with the dog, because she's going to start barking, and I want it to be quiet because everything echoes, and there are big, nice, really nice houses on the other side of the river. And I'm like, I want to wake up those people. And I was like, oh, every time I would get grumbly, like really irritated. And I'm like, a car would drive by, and the car would drive by in the park like really fast. And I would kind of get irritated again, like, why are they going so fast? And can't they see there's somebody walking out here? And then over the past several weeks, I was like, I don't like this irritated feeling anymore. It just doesn't feel good to me. It feels like very crabby. And it was really standing out. And I was like, okay, there's got to be a way to address this. I just don't want it there at all anymore, from like coming from myself. Like, not that I never get irritated at things, but I was like, this just feels like I'm irritated at everything. And then I started listening to, the things showed up in my reality, like my YouTube feed and all that. And Sandra was back and talking about divine neutrality. And I'm like, okay, I better listen to this again. So what I decided to do is obviously play with it and shift as to, I guess in a sense, it's kind of like, I don't really give a darn attitude in a way, but it's not. It's just so different than that, because you're still coming at it from like a very high vibration. So I just played with it, and I was like, all right, so for example, a car comes, and I just kind of ignored it, because why do I need to focus on it to begin with? Who's to say that the person is even going to get out and come around where I'm at, and I'm going to even have to do anything, and it's just part of being an empath, where you kind of pre-anticipate, I guess, what's happening around you. Someone said that this morning that I was listening to. They're like an empath. You kind of walk into a room and you kind of scan the whole entire room to anticipate like where you might feel safe, what's going on around you, what you feel like you might have to react to, and can you avoid that? And so in my case, this is like, you're outdoors, and I've got this huge, mile radius or whatever. And I'm anticipating like, oh, there's a car coming. There's a person walking. There's this, that, and the other. And I think that was getting really tiring, like doing that. And so when I started playing with the divine neutrality, it was like, okay, saw a car. Okay, so it's there. Now that doesn't mean that I'm not discerning about what it's doing, because, if it rolls up on me and my dog's like far off on her 26-foot leash, which cars have been known to do, they just roll up and it's like, okay, there's a dog, it's on a long leash. Like people just aren't paying attention. I have to be discerning, and I have to be observant about what's going on there. But for the most part, it's like, oh, there's a car coming. Okay. Like just, okay. I have no feeling about it whatsoever. It's not like it could be bad. It's not that it could be good. It's just, I just kind of went about my business. And throughout the day, Spirit presented me with different opportunities to kind of play with this, because they know how I can be sometimes with the neighbors too that live around me. There's activities going on where I live where I'm like, oh, what are those people doing? And so boundaries have to be very strong as well. And so it's kind of like a good combination of like strong boundaries and neutrality. And what I noticed, so I've been playing with this for about a week now, and I really like it because I can still, it's like being in the world, but not of the world in a way. But what I've noticed is I clear my energy twice a day. When I wake up in the morning from being out in the astrals all night, there's usually a lot to clear from the astral body and some emotional body and so forth. And I just, get my whatever shield and all that kind of ready for the day. And then at the end of the day, I do that whole thing all over again. So what I'm noticing now with this divine neutrality play is that typically at the end of the day or in the mornings now, I have very little to clear. So I always, for me, it's just easiest and fastest to muscle test what areas of myself need to be cleared. I always look at the astral body, the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body separately and clear them individually and use the violet flame. And we've taught you guys how to do this before. And there's many other ways, to clear and shield and all that. That's just how I do it and what works easiest and fastest for me. But what I've noticed now is hardly any clearing needs to be done. And I do remember Sandra saying that's the ultimate shield, this divine neutrality, because you don't attach to anything in the way that you used to. You notice it's back to you're in this world, but you're not of it in a sense. And so you don't attach to things emotionally and mentally anymore. You're not throwing out cords, and you're not, attached to certain outcomes, I guess, so to speak. So you're sending out and receiving less interference, I guess, back and forth. And so there's less for the mental body to do. There's less for the emotional body to do in terms of creating distortion. And it's been very freeing, and it's just made my day a little bit more enjoyable because I don't have to be focused on that anymore. And maybe some of you are like, what is she talking about? I do this all the time, or this doesn't even bother, none of that stuff she's saying would even bother me. But you may find that you're doing that in other ways. So maybe it has nothing to do with people that you see on the street or whatever, but it could be your social media feed or the way you look at the news or whatever it is, the way you talk to another person or work within a relationship. I'm just giving you examples that pertain to me right now, and you can kind of retrofit those to something else in your own life. But we're inviting you to test how that works, how this might work for you. So where you kind of turn into more of this is also self-mastery topic, can you be a peaceful observer and not have to have an opinion on everything that's happening around you? And me personally, I'm not a small talk person. If we're not getting into fun, spiritual topics and stuff, or just I do like to talk about shows, but I'm not a good hey, how's your day going? What'd you do yesterday? I'm not that kind of a person typically. That kind of bores me to have that level of conversation, and it's very superficial too. So it just depends on the situation, I guess. But why was I even going there? Holy smokes. It's about detaching from opinions about things. So opinions about other people. It's judgment, but it's a judgment from a higher perspective, because it's non-judgment, I guess, from a higher perspective, because you're not really, you have, I guess, ulterior motives for being non-judgmental, in that it serves everything involved, so to speak, from a unity consciousness perspective. Because when you wake up and you say, I want my day to be for the highest and best good of all involved, or within and around me, if you are not in that, if you're in a divine neutrality mode, then you're benefiting yourself, because we just experiment and try that with your own energy fields and see if the amount of clearing and shielding, shielding maybe still, but the amount of clearing, the amount of buildup and distortion that gets within and around your field, like experiment with that and see if that decreases. And then you're not sending cords and lower vibes out to another person. And even though, like in the situations I described to you, I wasn't really like sending a lower vibe specifically to a person, like, oh, that person, like I'm shooting arrows at you, which is like as a form of psychic attack. It was still putting like this negativity out there, like we've talked about before with energetic psychic pollution. Like I was kind of just polluting the environment with my negativity and irritation at certain things. And 99% of the time, the things weren't as bad as I would think that they would be, or in situations where I'd be like, oh, that car, it's going to come over here and it's going to get the dog all riled up. Law of attraction, right? Then the car would come and the dog would get all riled up. And the only reason I don't like her to do that, like, I don't care if necessarily she's barking at somebody, but it's like a physical wrestling match to like bring her in, like reel her in and get her to be quiet. And so it's hard on me too, like physically challenging for me to work with her when she's like that. So, yeah, right. It's like, do you need a different dog? This is the dog the universe has gifted me with. And so this is the dog I've got to work with. She's my little teacher right now. We're learning a lot of stuff together. So the divine neutrality experiment, I do invite you to try that. I am going to come back. I can't find mine. I'm going to come back and do some light language and do a little bit more with the Pleiadians for 333. I want to do that as a separate show, but for whatever reason, I guess divine neutrality is very important right now, especially what's going on with the world, taking care of yourself, working with self-mastery, rising up to a Trinity consciousness level, which is also the power of 3. So, you know, however you want to see that as a higher level of beingness, then those are some of the overall energetic themes for this month that will continue to flesh out in further episodes. So we've got the magic. We have that taking charge of your power and realizing that you're the one that creates your own reality, whether you want to believe that or not. We're going to go more into that. And we'll pepper these episodes with some more divine neutrality examples and make sure that we're also having fun, because while I wanted to like jump around and have fun here, I felt like this was kind of like a serious talk on divine neutrality. So I think next we will bring back the Bringers of the Light. We'll bring back Abigail and Dakar and see what they're working on. Will they ever get to the Whales of Azure Falls? I don't know. And I didn't really see much of Freddie Mercury here, so we will see what else comes up as we go through this month. So I don't want to hang with you all too long. I know you have important things to do in your day, so we're trying to make these episodes a little bit shorter. So I want to thank you all so much for joining me, and we will see you again very soon. Take care. This episode has been brought to you by the Pleiadian and Lemurian Councils of Light. We are here to help you raise your vibe. Thank you so much for joining us, star friends and family.